Well, hello, Katrina. Welcome to the Nutra Narratives podcast and specifically the tea break episode. I am so happy to have you on board. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Naval, for asking me to be here. It's been 3 years since we've talked, and I've been in California, so it's great to catch up through social media and chat here for your podcast.
Thank you for being here. So you moved out to the East Coast immediately after graduation?
I did. I'm from North Carolina, and
Right.
so I was in California for the 2 years I was at Loma Linda, and then right after graduation, I moved back home and
Got married?
I got married. Yes.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, so I've just been working in the field of nutrition. Right after I graduated from Loma Linda, I became a registered dietitian, and I actually started working as a child nutrition manager for an elementary school right after passing boards. And I did this while I was looking for RD jobs. So after about 7 months working in the food service setting, I got a job as a clinical dietitian at a psychiatric hospital in Western North Carolina, which is where I'm from. So it all worked out. I've been there for just over 2 years, working in the mental health setting.
Okay, very good. So how is that job from working from the food service position to clinical?
Well, it was a big adjustment because after graduating and then taking boards, working in food service, not doing anything clinical at all, I was nervous. But once I got in and working, it all kind of came back to me. And the patient population is different than an acute care facility. But honestly, after being there for 2 years, I can't imagine being anywhere else right now. So it's a good experience.
That is wonderful. I'm so curious. So what is it about this particular position that's really making you go, wow, I feel good working with this population?
Well, I always thought I wanted to work in a mental health setting. I did one of my clinical rotations at the Behavioral Health Institute and the BNC, so I got to see a little bit of it there. And it's really, whole person care becomes really important working in this population because you don't really understand what they're going through, but when you work with the treatment team and you can really see that they have a psychiatric illness and that we're really trying to treat that, it makes you connect with them on a deeper level, and you can work with them better than without knowing their background, if that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. I know, because it is really hard to know the journey that they've been on, because we haven't been there. But the way that you connect, I can tell you're just really able to build that rapport with them so that you can make your relationship with them that much more meaningful.
That is key especially, I think with everybody, but especially with this population. You want to earn their trust, because it's a lot of like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and those kind of mental illnesses. So that becomes really important.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm so proud of you that you are serving there and you are really blessed and enjoying serving them. So very good. So I have done my homework and I poured over your Instagram, which I have enjoyed looking through. And I have also read through your blog. It's such a beautiful blog with great information. I will definitely post that in the show notes and the description so people can go over and look. And yeah, there's a lot that I didn't know about your life when you were going to school. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. But yet I would love for you to share your personal story because I believe this is what has led you to your platform where you are today.
Yes. I kind of repressed my journey in school. I kind of thought I was supposed to be this um, a dietitian who would promote weight loss and diets and help people lose weight. And but I'm going to share my journey with you guys and listeners and you, and hopefully it'll inspire someone listening.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my personal story is a long one. It started when I was 10 years old, and it all started when I went dress shopping for my cousin's wedding. My mom and her friend took me, and I found the perfect dress. It was this cream colored lace dress with pink flowers on it. And
Sounds
I knew it was the dress I wanted. And then my mom's friend told me, well, if we get this dress, you need to be sure not to gain any weight. And I didn't really think much of it at that time. I was just like, oh, people around me are going on diets. I can go on a diet too. It's not a big deal.
wow,
And
at
so,
10.
10, yes, yes. So I started out by just like cutting out soda and being more mindful of what I was eating. So it really started out innocently, but it was a downward spiral from there. I started becoming obsessive with some of diet culture, things you'd read in magazines and on the internet and things like that. And I'll also note that I was an overweight child. And so it wasn't until that day that I realized it, that I didn't look like everybody else in my class, that I wasn't a teeny bopper. And so that part of it too kind of made me start body shaming myself and not being confident in the skin I was in. And then puberty hit. So my body started changing even more. And that's when I started getting discriminated for my body size. Girls would make fun of me in school because I was bigger. I was in a bigger body. And I thought I was in control of that. I thought if I could just chase a smaller body, if I could just get smaller, then the girls would like me, that I'd be popular, that I'd be happy. And so that's when the restricting and the skipping meals, the over exercising, and the body shaming progressed even more.
Okay.
And
And by this time, how old were you?
I was in middle school, so between like 11 to 14, 15, that age.
Still so young.
It's young. But as I got older, like late teenage years, I started getting interested in fitness and more wellness culture. And I knew that if I wanted to exercise, I had to eat. So I started eating more, but I still had that good food, bad food mentality, that diet culture taught me, and the articles I was reading, because I became fascinated with nutrition at this point too.
Yes.
So I definitely felt guilty when I ate certain foods. If I was on my diet kick, I felt guilty for eating foods. I felt guilty for overeating. I felt guilty if I took a rest day from exercising. And it just kind of, while it got better, it got worse at the same time. My relationship with food was bad, with my body was really rough too. So after about 13 years of that, food shaming and food guilt, I finally found peace with food in my body through mindful and intuitive eating.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm perfect. I still am growing, and I think growth is key, progress over perfection. But that's why I'm really interested in the mindful and intuitive eating niche, because my story with it, and from what other people have told me, and the freedom I have found with it, I don't feel obsessive about food anymore. I can go on a spontaneous date night with my husband and not worry about it, and still fuel my body and nourish it, but be able to enjoy foods I once feared. And that's a really nice feeling.
Yes. So I love hearing that you said foods that I once feared. So that means you're not fearful of those foods anymore. And was it because of reading about intuitive eating, mindful eating, or did somebody also help you along the way, or was that from what you've read that you were able to overcome these fears?
Honestly, I would say about 6 to 8 months ago, I started seeing people on Instagram, other dietitians, and that's when I really started learning about intuitive eating. I had some misconceptions of intuitive eating to begin with, and I think that's a common fear when you become an intuitive eater is I'm scared to let myself eat this food, or I'm scared to not exercise every day to where I'm in pain or I'm sweating profusely. But I have it right here. This book, Intuitive Eating, has been so helpful. It's very profound, and it's been life changing
I
for me
read that book too, and I
and
find it so helpful.
yes, for myself, but also for the program I want to build to help other people. It's been life changing. I also listened to Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison on Audible recently, and that was also hearing some great information that I hadn't thought of before. So it was eye-opening as well.
That is on my list of books to read. I've read Health at Every Size, Intuitive Eating, and so that would be nice. And Christy Harrison also has a podcast centered on her book. So that's also another great resource too as well.
And you ask about like people having a strong support system is important too. Growing up, I had a very supportive family, but I kind of kept my food rules and things to myself. My dad was very good about making sure I ate meals. Like he would be like, Katrina, you need to eat breakfast, or making sure that I had money for lunch. Small things like that.
Yes.
Looking back now, I know definitely if I didn't have that, it could have been worse than it was. But also my husband, he has such a healthy relationship with food. And I think having him with me has helped it grow, has helped my relationship with food grow too. So that's been helpful.
Wow. Wonderful. It is so freeing when you are able to just love life, love what you eat whenever you want, and not say, no, this has this and that, I'm not going to have it, but to just say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy it. It is part of life. I've always believed that part of the joy of life is eating foods that are just so decadent, delicious, what have you, and without deprivation. Yeah. And so what can someone who, okay, so this dropped. Okay, so what can someone who is going through, who has gone through what you went through, having grown up or lived through diet culture, and is trying to get out of that mindset, is trying to get freed from that, what is a good place to start for someone who wants to get over those fears? Would love to have you share a few tips.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about what mindful eating and intuitive eating
are for the
listeners
you.
First.
I told you I was going to ask you the difference. I totally forgot. Thank you. Yes, that would be helpful.
Yeah. So mindful eating to me is exactly how it sounds, being mindful or observant of or the whole eating experience. So paying attention to taste, flavor, texture, the satisfaction factor of food, fullness, really being aware of those things while you're eating. And then intuitive eating is a broader idea that goes outside of the eating experience and focuses on connecting the mind, body, and food. So intuitive eating has 10 principles, which you're familiar with, but for the listeners,
please share.
They are ditching the diet mentality, honoring your hunger, making peace with food, challenging the food police, feeling your fullness, discover the satisfaction factor, coping with your emotions without food, respect your body, exercise to feel the difference, and honoring your health using gentle nutrition. So again, if you want to read that book, it's Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and that it'll go into more detail with those 10 principles. But the main difference between mindful eating and intuitive eating is that mindful eating, again, focuses on that eating experience.
Mm.
And then mindful eating kind of connects that with your mind and your body.
So they complement each other.
They complement each other,
Yeah.
right? And so that's why I promote both. That's why I use both.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes breaking it down can make it a little bit more simpler to apply to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think intuitive eating too focuses highly on rejecting the diet culture mentality, which has been a huge starting point for me was to reject diet culture, which
Yeah.
I'll talk about in a little bit too. If
Oh yes, I would love for you to. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this when you were a student, but I had mentioned that I personally don't like to use the word diet because it has that connotation of I can't have this or I can't have that. And I really try not to use that word around people. But sometimes in the clinical setting, a different world, sometimes that word just has to be used to refer to a meal plan, and doesn't necessarily mean that it's for weight loss, but we use it because that's what people know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember that from your class. I remember you highly talked about there were no good foods, no bad foods. And that's one thing I remember from your class. I mean, I remember a lot, but
Aw,
I
yay.
remember that.
Yeah, I still believe that to today. No bad foods or good foods. You know what? And and as I continue in my career as a dietitian, I also refine my philosophies too. Now here's a group of people, and they could have a food sensitivity though, which is different from food allergies. And if
Yeah,
it doesn't make them feel good, if it makes them feel sick, then we won't say it's bad, but you might want to just lay off that for a little bit till the body is able to respond to it again. And then it's all about feeling better. I mean,
exactly.
that's our all of our goals with intuitive eating, mindful eating, and those who have food sensitivities. We just want people to feel vibrant and
Right.
good so they
They
can live
can live-
well.
Exactly. Yes. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so what were you gonna share?
Well, I was going to answer your previous question about
Oh,
tips people
yes.
could apply to their life when they're transitioning to mindful eating or intuitive eating,
Yes.
or if you're interested. I like to think of mindful eating in 6 different steps.
Okay.
The first step, well, before I go on, these are steps that you can apply to snack time, meal time, if you're meal planning, just to think about these steps when you're moving forward. Um, the first step is to assess your hunger using the hunger and fullness scale. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being too hungry, 10 being too full, how hungry are you? So, with intuitive and mindful eating both, you don't want to be too hungry or too full. You want to have a happy medium. You don't want to wait to eat until you're starving, famished, and you don't want to stop eating when you're overfull or miserably full, stuffed. So
Exactly.
finding a happy medium can be really beneficial when you do choose to eat something. So that's the first step, to assess your hunger. The
Nice.
second step is to pick what you're hungry for. So are you hungry for a snack or a meal? And obviously, if you're not super hungry, you would opt for a snack. If you want something that's more sustainable, that'll keep you fuller for a longer period of time, you would choose a meal. And here I like to mention physical versus practical hunger. Physical hunger being your body's biological cue telling you that you're hungry. It looks different for everybody. It could be hunger pains or fatigued, brain fog, lightheaded. You could be hangry.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So that is what physical hunger is. Practical hunger is when you're not physically, biologically hungry, but you know you're not going to have access to food for a while. So you choose to have something that will sustain you until you have access to food again.
Mm.
I like to use the example of
Like that.
like you're going to a work meeting and it starts at 11:30, it lasts until 2:30, and so you might not be hungry at 11 o'clock, but you know if you don't eat something that you're going to have that brain fog, you're not going to be able to focus. You might get hangry. If you're like me, you'll get hangry.
I know I do. If
Yeah.
it's yeah, and those long meetings, we have those long meetings as long as those. So you're right. That's a perfect example.
And so you choose something. It might be a light lunch or it might be a snack, something that will keep you full until you get access to food again.
Yeah. I
So
love that.
that is the second step. So remember, it's the assess your hunger, and then you pick what you're hungry for, and then you actually choose the food that you're going to eat.
The fun part.
Yeah, the fun part. Here, I like to mention honoring your cravings, which is so important. I talk about it all the time on my social media.
Yes.
When you honor your craving, it can prevent a binge on that food later on.
Correct.
And that's something I definitely struggled with. You know, trying to eat 10 different healthier things, but you're still focused on that one craving.
I've been there so many times. Mm-hmm.
You end up eating the craving anyway. When if you would have just enjoyed a serving that would have satisfied your body in the beginning, it would have prevented all of that, and you wouldn't feel bad or sick or uncomfortable because you wouldn't be overfull.
Exactly. But that is something so many of us have done.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Over and over until we learn. We're like, you know what? I should have gone straight to that milkshake.
Yeah. So that's the third step. The fourth is probably my favorite just because I am a dietitian and I love food and nourishing bodies. The fourth step is to balance it out. So you've assessed your hunger, you've picked if you want a snack or a meal, you've honored your craving and chose what you want. Now let's balance it out. So here, balancing out carbs, protein, fat. I also like to mention gentle nutrition here.
Yes, I love that. I want you to talk about gentle nutrition.
Yeah. So gentle nutrition, choosing foods that you enjoy, foods that physically satisfy you or physically make your body feel good, and then foods that satisfy you. So those three things: foods you enjoy, foods that make you feel good, and then foods that satisfy you. So
I love that philosophy of the gentle nutrition and the three pillars right there.
If let's say you're craving pizza, I like this example. I love pizza.
Yeah. Oh, same.
Rather than just eating, a whole pizza, if that was what your binge was going to be on, choosing to have a couple of slices of pizza, pairing it with a salad with some chickpeas or chicken or some other protein source.
Right.
And then you have a nicely balanced meal. You get to honor your craving and enjoy what you like. And you have it balanced out too, using that gentle nutrition, balance of nutrients.
Yeah, that is so excellent. That philosophy is great because you're not ignoring what's also nourishing for you, and instead, because I've heard some other dietitians, and they'll just say just eat what you want, but I love how you're balancing that out with, well, let's also pair it up with something that can also nourish you.
Well, I know my body physically feels good when I do that. For digestion, for energy, for sustainability. So I definitely promote that as well.
Yes. I love how you're integrating everything. All philosophies, not just one.
Right. So that was the fourth step. The fifth step is to pace yourself, which becomes really important with mindful eating. Something I've struggled with for years is not slowing down your meals, not allowing time for your brain to catch up with your hunger. Pacing yourself can help prevent overeating, which on that hunger and fullness scale, getting too full, that's we want to stay in the middle of that scale. So instead of scarfing down your food, pace yourself. Again, paying attention to those flavors, tastes, textures, and your company, who you're eating with,
Yes.
socializing during mealtime can help balance that out as well.
Because it makes for a really beautiful experience.
It does. That's what it's all about. That whole eating experience with your loved ones, with your friends, that becomes important too.
It's a great reminder.
And then the sixth and final step is to continually recheck in with your hunger and fullness using the scale. So we've kind of made this circle around. We start with the scale, we're going to end with the scale. And here, over time, the more you get used to mindful and intuitive eating, you'll be able to do this like second nature. Yeah. So in the beginning, you might find yourself under eating, you might find yourself overeating, but eventually, once you use that scale, and I highly recommend journaling about it, that can help too. It can help. Eventually, you're going to know exactly how much of this food is going to satisfy you. And it's going to vary from day to day. But for the most part, when you're packing your lunch or making dinner, you'll know how much to make, how much will satisfy you.
Right.
And you'll be the way your body, you'll be in tune with your body.
Yes.
Which without the burden of calorie or macro counting.
Guy.
Any of that stuff.
I have abandoned that. I mean, it is what we have been taught because it's part of the foundations of nutrition. But, for me, I abandoned using 1,800 calories, 2,000 calories. It's like, really? Why should we burden people with numbers? So
it's beautiful to trust your body. It takes time, but when you can trust your body,
yes,
let you know when you need to eat, that it's really
exactly, because I believe God built that into our system.
For sure.
Us to say, okay, you're hungry, that's a good thing to have. Go ahead and eat.
Yes.
And then he also built it in us to say, okay, now you can stop for this meal.
He perfectly orchestrated us for that. So it's wonderful.
So true. I love those 6 steps to take. And thank you for sharing that. And Katrina, I was reading your blog and I really love it. And you also shared about like a couple verses in the Bible too that helped you also. And if you can just touch on the spiritual aspect that also helped you heal as far as like the body's.
Okay. So one thing that has helped me with my body image, with food guilt, with over-exercising, all of those things, is remembering that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Yes. That God, like you said, he made our bodies to tell us when we're hungry, when we're full. He designed us to release endorphins when we exercise.
Yeah.
So we feel good. And anytime I feel down on myself or I have a negative thought come into my mind, I remember that I am beautifully and wonderfully made, and that he created me. He created all of us. And I think a big part of life is to take care of our bodies, but not forgetting that mental health aspect of it.
Correct. Yes.
When you focus so hard on shaping your body through what you eat and how you move, it's easy to forget about the mental health self-care part of it. But that to me is the most important part, because having a healthy relationship with food and your body and exercise can help you be more motivated to fuel your body the way to make your body feel good. It's all about, like you said before, making your body feel good.
Yes.
And so if anyone out there, any listeners are struggling with any of this, remember to change that negative thought into a positive mindset and just remember that you are beautifully and wonderfully made. That's like my favorite phrase.
That is so beautiful. Such a great reminder that even, you know, God knew us before we were born, but he already made us wonderfully. Like he had a plan of how wonderful we were going to be. And so we need to embrace his creation, us, our bodies, and wanting to live a full life that he has intended for us.
Yes, for sure.
So what about for you? What are 3 personal practices? I know a lot of what you've been talking about. I know you're already practicing that. But what about like three daily nutrition practices?
Yes. The first one, because I do set goals for myself, I believe that with mindful and intuitive eating both, you still most definitely can achieve health promoting behaviors without pursuing weight loss or without actively pursuing weight loss.
Correct.
So for me, one of my right now, one of my nutrition practices I'm doing now is incorporating more healthy fats into my diet or into my meals. So for me, it's mainly for hormone production and to increase meal satisfaction. Those are my reasons.
Excellent reasons, spot on reasons, evidence-based reasons.
Yeah. And so what that looks like for me is adding like chia seeds or flax seeds to morning smoothies or baked goods, oatmeal. I have found this really delicious granola recipe that is just made from nuts and seeds. It's got some vanilla and cinnamon, and it smells like Christmas. It's wonderful. So,
oh, wow. So is that on your blog?
No, it's not my recipe.
Okay.
It's someone else's recipe.
Okay. It's so yummy.
It's delicious. And that's another way I can incorporate more healthy fats.
Yeah.
So that's one that I do. The second one I want to share is hydration. Because staying hydrated helps with brain fog, fatigue, digestion. I eat a plant-based diet, so I need to make sure I have enough water to help with digestion.
Awesome.
So for me, my goal right now is to drink at least 4 of my Hydro Flask bottles while I'm at work. I work at a desk, so it's easy for me to forget to drink. But my goal is to drink 4 right now, and I drink water while I'm at home too. But that's kind of my goal.
Doesn't it help to have a nice looking water bottle? I mean, Hydro Flasks are great. They're a little pricey, but
mine's a knockoff Hydro Flask, but it still works nicely.
Yeah, I know. And if you have a nice, beautiful color, and I don't know, I think colors, having a beautiful color around can just cheer you up and encourage you to drink from it.
Yes, 100%. The last thing I'm doing is something that I'm proud of, because 5 years ago I wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay.
And it'll just show you how beautiful food freedom is.
Yes.
If it's not every day, it's every other day. I have chocolate. I love chocolate. And
beautiful.
Like I said, for me, 5 years ago, I would have saved chocolate for the weekend. I wouldn't have let myself have it throughout the week. But then the weekend would come around and I would eat more of it than I needed. And
I have been there.
Yeah. And my body would not feel good. But now I can enjoy it with a banana or some peanut butter. My newest trend is getting a date and putting dark chocolate chips in a date. And it's so good. And it's a great sweet fix after dinner.
Yes, totally.
And I'm satisfied after that. I don't have to worry about eating the whole bag of chocolate chips. I can just enjoy it in a small quantity.
Right, because you are mindfully enjoying it. That small amount can bring so much satisfaction.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds yummy. I have some dates downstairs. I just need to get a little chocolate and put that together.
It's delicious.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. That's why I also like doing these podcast episodes, because every guest has a great little recipe they came up with. I'm like, oh, I got to try that one next. And and a lot of them are the common denominator is chocolate. We all love chocolate.
Love it. Love it.
Can't deny it. It's a gift from God.
Yes.
So that is fantastic. So, Katrina, how can people connect with you, continue to learn from you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is mindful.eating.dietitian. And there I share a lot of food freedom tips, gentle nutrition, and body respect material, hopefully to inspire you guys to jumpstart that lifestyle. And I will also mention, if you find me on Instagram, you can visit the link in my bio and download your free 6 steps to mindful eating guide.
Ah,
So everything we talked about today, you can
mhm.
get it on my link in my bio. So you can check that out.
Excellent.
And you can also find me at my website. It's Live Better with Kat Detter,
I love that. Ooh, I
DETTER.
love the flow. Live better with Kat
.com.
Detter.
Yes. And there I have over 100 different blogs. I've got some recipes. And like I said, my focus now is on mindful and intuitive eating, helping women with food freedom, gentle nutrition, and body respect. And so you can connect with me there. And I'm also on Facebook. Live Better with Kat Detter is my Facebook name too. So I would love to connect with you guys.
Yes,
So
please, please
definitely,
do. Everybody that's listening who would like to connect with Katrina. And I will also put your IG handle, your Facebook, and your website in the show notes for the podcast or in the description area for YouTube so that just in case people are driving as they're listening to this, then they can go back and get your information so they can connect with you.
thank you.
Yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you and seeing your success, where you're going, and what a joy it is for me to be able to catch up with you and to be inspired by your story and to also learn from you.
It's been great talking to you, Dr. Naval. It's been way too long. I appreciate you inviting me to come and talk on your podcast. And I've enjoyed listening to a couple of your stories as well from your podcast. I've been enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And may God bless you in all that you do.